Hello, everyone. I just want to say thank you again for joining the Earth Angel Experience podcast. Super happy, super excited to be here. We have an amazing show today. We're actually going to be speaking with Krista from the Akashic Glow. She knows all things Akashic records. She also knows a lot about breath work, and so we're super excited to have her. Hello, Allegro Vivace. Hi, guys, for joining. I'm waiting for Krista to join now so I can welcome her to the room. Super excited. So yeah, today's just gonna be super fun. Can't wait. Just to ask her all things questions on related to spirituality. Hi, Lilac Road. Hello, sweetheart. So excited that you can join. I'm actually a little congested today, guys, so sorry if I sound a little nasally. Hopefully it's okay. I don't sound too crazy on your end, but all things good here. Super excited. I hope you guys love or know something or nothing of the Akashic Records. That's A-okay. If you have questions, feel free to just chat, make a comment, and hopefully I don't miss your comments and we can get to that. Just waiting. Hi, Cold Brew Barbie. Hello, my love. Just waiting for Krista. So happy you guys joined. Super excited to be here. So again, I'm going to be doing these monthly podcasts, and these podcasts are just going to be about spirituality, making connections with the other side, or just learning about what's going on the other side. There's so much topics relating to, hi everyone, everyone's joining. So many things, angels, angelic experiences. I have a great podcast lined up next. This podcast is going to be amazing. So all things, if you guys have any questions, just make sure you chat or make a comment, and that way I can get to you. Let's see if Krista joins yet. No, I don't see her. I know she's in a different time zone, so hopefully that's okay. But yeah, so where are you guys actually calling in from? Can you guys write in the chat? Just make sure my comments are working. I'm in New York. So if you guys want to chat where you're from, that's great. Hello, Rosalie. Thank you for joining, my love. We're just waiting on Krista. We're just waiting on Krista to join. We're going to be speaking about all things Akashic Records and just answer so many questions that a lot of my clients have. And I know that not many people know what the Akashic Records are, or even how to do breath work and exercises. So basically all this should be super, super cool. Where are you, my love? Let's see. I don't see her. Just trying to see if I missed her somewhere. Scrolling through the names. Yep, nope, she's still not here. But anyway, Brooklyn, okay, nice. So Brooklyn's in the house. I'm here. I'm actually in New York, so I'm in Long Island City. We're not far, we're neighbors. Anyone else want to let me know where they're from? Just want to make sure the comments are going through and working. I'm looking to see if she's joined, but no, I don't see her here yet. Italy, that's awesome. I miss Italy so much. I want to go back. So that was awesome. What part of Italy, if you don't mind me asking? I hope she doesn't have, let me just check. Rimini, I don't know where that is, but it sounds fun. I see your little picture. That seems really cool. I don't know if that's Italy or not. But anyway, Yeah, we're just waiting for Krista to join. Hopefully there's not any 60 miles south of Venice. Nice. That is so cool. So excited for you to join us. That is awesome. So remember, guys, if you have any questions regarding Akashic Records or any points you want us to touch, just please feel free to write, make your comments, let us know. Otherwise, we're just gonna go right into it. Hi, Fanny. Hello. Nice to see you, my love. So a lot about the Akashic Records is going to be speaking about energy work. It's going to be speaking about those on that on the other side. Okay, we have, I think she's here. Let me just click on her and see if we can add her. Yeah. Hi, Krista. Do you see me? Did you get the invite? Let's see. I added you, my love. I think you just have to go in and accept it. And then once you do, our screens will split. You can also just write in the comment if you're having like an issue. There is no invite. Okay, add a person, confirm. Okay, did you get it? It says it's sent. So what I want you to do is see if you log out and then just try to come back in, because on my end it's saying it's sent. So did you see it or no? There is no invite. Okay, let's try this. Yeah, it's showing that you definitely are a moderator, but I'm not too sure if your Instagram is it updated, because it says Akashic is unable to join. Let's see if she joined. Sorry guys for the technical difficulties. Let's see. I've logged out a couple of times. Okay. Okay, so hi Spanish Rose. Hello. We're just trying to get Krista in. If you guys think you might know what the issue is, you can let me know. But right now it's showing that I sent her the invite, but for some reason she's not seeing it. Let's see if I do this. If I remove you and then try, can you log out, Krista, and then try to log back in? Let's see. Or can you send me a request? Maybe you have to send me a request to join. So if you, Krista, if you go to the plus at the bottom of the screen and click it, it's gonna ask for you to send a request. So maybe that can help. Okay. What about now? Are you in? Yeah. So I just sent you an invite. Try looking again. It says invite sent. You just have to click on it so that invite.
Hey.
Oh, there you go.
Hi.
There you go, my love. Sorry about that.
I am.
Are you good?
No, I was trying to join on my computer, but I had to join on my phone, so I'm here now.
Yay, yay. So thank you so much for joining. Yeah, I know Instagram can be just like super weird and finicky sometimes. It has to be on the phone. Because I know if it's on the computer, it just won't, it's not the same. Does we a whole bunch of weird stuff. But again, I just want to thank everyone for joining. Hi, Cameron. Everyone's joining in. Super, super cool. My name is Daisy. I actually am so many of these loaded words that I don't like to speak about, but you know, medium, psychic, empath. I work with crystals. I'm able to speak with angels on the other side. All this is from my mother's lineage, so it comes from my mother's line. But this podcast that I have going monthly is all about having just experts in the field, just folks that I know of or have gotten to learn about. And they know they have their own niche. They have, you know, either they have their special spiritual connection or they have just insight and knowledge that I would love to begin to share with all of you guys. So that way there's just more awareness and there's more awareness of what's happening outside of our five senses. So with that being said, I have Krista today from AkashicGlow.com. And Krista is just near and dear to my heart. I met her about almost 2 years now, I believe. And so our story was just pretty interesting. But welcome, Krista. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm super great. You look beautiful.
Thank you.
Awesome. So, Krista, I know how we began our journey. So our journey actually it started with me just one day having dreams. I was having these dreams about the Akashic records. And so I really didn't know anything about this. I didn't know much about the Akashic records, but I know that every time I would come out of my dream state, it was as if the Akashic records were in my head. And so I just wanted to know at that moment in time what it was. Was there like a message for me? Was there something that I needed to understand about the Akashic records? And so I did research, and then you came up, and I said, let me just book an appointment. And here we are almost 2 years later, and we've like worked together, and we've done pretty good stuff together. So I thank you for joining us. And now I just want to turn this over to you so you could let us know, what is the Akashic records?
Sure. Thank you for having me.
Yay.
So the Akashic records are a body of energy that are unique to each individual soul. When I open someone's Akashic records, I'm speaking directly to their masters, teachers, and loved ones. And their masters are a body of energy that have been with them since the inception of their soul. So we have access to past lives, present, and then future possibilities.
So is this something that people can actually change? So if you're saying something like past life, this is like information that we can access regarding their past life. Is it something that in their past life, it dictates what happened to them in this current life, or it's something that we can change in the future?
Yes, often past life energy can affect the current life. Not always. Not everyone's dealing with that situation. And when you say change, what do you mean?
I mean, let's say if because my understanding of the Akashic records is that it's not a finite thing, meaning that we are able to change the path, right? So even if something happens in our past life, we're able to kind of change the course with intention and with energy work and with prayer. Is that an accurate assumption, or accurate to say?
Are you asking about past or future?
Future.
Yes, absolutely. Just because we all have free will, I can change, just like I can change 100 things about the way I live today. I can change my records. They're incredibly sensitive, so I can change my records with a thought, or with an action, or with an intention.
That's amazing. So can you describe a little bit more in detail what is the records? Like, what is the record itself? Like, can you tell those viewers, those of us who don't know what a record is, what does that even mean? What is a record? What is my record? What is your record? What are the records?
So, right, the Akashic records are held in the Akasha, the Akashic realm. It's said to be the highest realm, higher than the psychic realm. And it's the literal energetic information of each and every soul from every lifetime, from the inception of their soul. So it's an energetic imprint or energetic library of information.
So let's say if someone has had dreams, let's say they've had dreams about themselves in a past life, and they can even be, let's say, male if they're female, or if they're female, they're male, or even an animal. Is that part of the Akashic record? Are they dreaming in their dream state about the past that came from the Akashic record? Or how would they be able to distinguish whether that was something in their record or was that something made up?
They'd have to go into their records and ask, or have someone go into their records and ask. But I would say yes and no. It could be very well something that they're literally dreaming about a past life. It could just be the subconscious speaking to them about another issue, or bringing information to the surface that wasn't necessarily part of a past life.
So would you say that in order to access the records, you would have to be either psychic or medium or have some kind of gift or ability? Or is this something that anybody can do? Anybody can access their records? Or do they have to be trained to have their records accessed?
You'd have to be taught, and I think that everyone has the ability to access their records to varying degrees. I liken it to everyone can run around the block. Some people are going to be far more adept at running faster or stronger or with more precision. I consider it a relationship to the energetic parts of ourselves, to the connection to your body, to your insight, to your instincts. So if you have a strong developed relationship to these metaphysical parts of yourself, then I think you'll have a different experience than someone that's really closed off or hasn't ever even ventured into an energetic relationship with themselves or with the world. So depending on who you are, depending on your past experience, even your belief system, your openness, your willingness, you're going to have a different experience to someone that is more closed off.
So let's say if someone let's say they've never had any kind of reading or experience, not just with the Akashic record, but in general, but it's something that they're intrigued and something that they're wanting to learn more about. If they go into a reading, is that something that their intention has to be set to allow their record to be open? So let's say if they had a reading with you, for example, and they were fearful, or this was their first time experience, is the information coming through to you going to be different for them?
Not necessarily. That's my job as a practitioner, to kind of soften them, ground them, help them feel at ease so that their energy is more open and available. I go through a process at the beginning of every reading to kind of help people be more embodied and grounded. That being said, it can be more difficult to read for someone that has the energy of skepticism or
fear,
is not sure, is not willing, really. It's just a different energy to have to navigate. It's like having a conversation. So I'm sure you've been in a situation where you've had a conversation with someone that wasn't giving anything back and was giving you, single word answers. The conversation itself isn't flowing. The energy isn't opening up. It isn't creating like a third energy between the two of you that comes to life. It's the same with a reading, because it's an energetic exchange. So we're sharing energy. The more they give, the more I get, the more I give, the more they get. It just kind of takes on a life of its own.
Yeah, because I know, for example, when I have readings, there are times where people come in for, let's say, mediumship readings, but they're afraid, they're fearful, even though they want to be there and they want to know, or they have some kind of inkling that someone is with them on the other side. If they're closed off, it sometimes feels like you're pulling. It's not that you're pulling information from them, but it seems that you're trying to just make them more at ease, and it just seems like more work. So it's interesting that accessing the Akashic records flows in that same way, because it is an energy. It is an energy exchange. Is that correct?
Exactly. I call it lifting. When someone is more closed off, it just takes more effort.
Yes.
Yeah. It's still, I still believe that they get what they need out of it. And I always see a a transformation in people. The energy of the records is such a high vibration. It's such an energy of pure love that everyone is transformed. Some people come in really heavy, and so maybe they just get a little bump. Other people come in more open and they get a bigger bump. Depending on, like, you know, where they come in, everyone gets elevated across the board. And I always just intuitively started asking, you know, years and years ago, before I close the records, how do you feel? And again, like, everyone feels better. They just feel lighter. They just feel more aligned, really, is what it's all about. And every energetic practice that we endeavor into, all we're seeking is alignment. So it has that ability to align someone, regardless of what we speak about. Energetically, it is a shift, and it's bringing them back into what I would consider their soul level truth, their soul level alignment.
So if someone is feeling, let's say I work with the chakras and with crystals. If, for example, someone's feeling blocked or heavy, or something is not in alignment with where they seem to be going or where they want to be, or things just seem to be challenges left and right, I know that through messages from the other side and through angelic guidance and crystals that we can try to unblock those chakras. Is Akashic Records somehow relating to the chakra system as well, or is it something completely separate?
It's all in relationship, right? So it's all relating to each other. I often get messages where people are being blocked within chakra systems in relationship to what they're working on. So that information comes through often. And I think that it does, not to the extent of going and getting an energetic healing, because that's not the purpose of it entirely. I think there's a benefit that is involved with an energetic healing. But it's more informational, it's more conversational. Whether it is able to completely unblock a chakra, I think that takes more focus and kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Intention to completely unblock something. It doesn't just happen like that. There's often lessons that are engaged within unblocking something. And so to just take it away, you wouldn't learn the lesson there. You wouldn't go through the experience yourself and then kind of undo it in order to not have it happen again, right? We have to have the experience of something in order to learn the lesson, in order to have that muscle memory, that psychological memory, so that we can not ever there again.
So basically, just going back again, that's great. Thank you for the clarification. Going back to the message portion of it. So when you're receiving messages, are these messages coming from the person's guardian angels, guides, ancestors? Who are they coming from?
Masters, teachers, and loved ones.
And can you break that down for us? Like, what is a master? What is a teacher? And what would you consider a loved one? Is it someone known, unknown?
So the masters, as I mentioned before, are a body of energy that have been with them since the inception of your soul. They're often have not been incarnated. A teacher can be both unincarnated and incarnated. It's someone often known, from what I gather from my experience of it, but it doesn't have to be. It could be someone that they've never met, of course, if they've never been incarnated. But that's very lesson based. And it's not always, done with, sometimes they bring kind of a friction, conflict, often pain in this human experience. The thing that really gets our attention is pain and conflict, and that's what wakes us up. That's what allows us to move forward. It gets our attention. And then loved ones are, yes, they can be family of origin, but they often can just be chosen loved ones, and both alive and energies that have been passed on.
Yeah, and is it when before you opening up or them opening up their Akashic records, is it something that they sent the intent of who they want to join them, or is it something that whatever energies have the right messages for them or willing to be there for them come through?
I've never asked a client to do that. I don't think it's necessary. I think when you open the records, you have just an entire realm of energy. So anyone that needs to come through will come through. Often people ask to speak to someone, and I've never not had the experience of them not coming through. I didn't mean to do a double negative. They've always, anyone that I've asked to come through has come through. So it has the ability, I mean, it's kind of everything in one. It's energetic healing, it's mediumship, it's clairvoyance, it's, there are psychic capabilities. Although anytime we look at predictive questions, I always tell people that it's always 50-50 because we have free will. There are things that I can see that more kind of locked in or by design that feel very different. It feels imminent because everyone that is participating has kind of locked in and made the decision, and it's close. So the chances of it changing are much less. So we can look at predictive things, but things very far out in the future do have the ability to change. So I always say, like I said, 50-50.
Yeah, that's amazing. So how did you come about with discovering and knowing that this was your ability or your gift? Is this something that you just had this innate openness with the spiritual realm, or is it was just something that you were just drawn to? Did you read a book about it? What was it that drew you into the Akashic records, and how has that helped you in your journey?
It completely changed my life in the best possible way. I feel so incredibly lucky to be doing this work. I feel like it's such a privilege and an honor, and I would have never in a million years imagined that I'd be doing this. That doesn't mean that I'm not and haven't been always kind of very open to the spiritual realm. I didn't realize I had until all of this happened, but I've always had like a very strong connection to source and spirit. My father died when I was little, so it made it really easy to just imagine that my father was right here. And I feel like that was an open channel for me. So I didn't go through any kind of qualifiers. I didn't second guess it. And I believed. It made complete and total sense to me. And then I just lived my life. I always kind of knew things were going to happen when they were going to happen. But it felt completely normal to me. Um, I thought everyone could do it.
Right.
I would lose things as a kid. I'd know where they were, or I would know if they were coming back or if they were gone. When the phone rang, I knew who was calling. I mean, there's just a million examples. But again, if you grow up with that, you don't recognize that that other people aren't doing it as well. And then I was between jobs. I was working as a postpartum doula, which I loved with all my heart. And I was working nights, and working nights took its toll on my physical body. And I was leaving that profession and was kind of searching for another one. And a friend of mine suggested that I go and get my Akashic records read, which seemed incredible to me. It lit me up, and I thought, okay, I'll go do that. And then in the first thing that this woman said, and you could tell she was kind of surprised by it, the message was that I could do this work. It was an invitation to do the work. And anytime I'd had any kind of energetic reading before, they would always say, you're a healer, or you're this, or you're that. And I always dismissed it. I had no interest in it at all. And for some reason with this, it really intrigued me. And I started reading every book. I took every course. And I started reading for friends and family. And then it just filled the void of being able to help people. When I was a postpartum doula, I had a skill set where I helped people, and that was incredibly meaningful for me and fulfilling. And I loved it so much. And having to give that up was really heartbreaking. So I found myself in another position where I was able to help people. And I really was so open and available to it. And people just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. So I feel really fortunate to.
That's amazing. And it's just like spreading. Isn't that funny or like just amazing how sometimes through the doubt and the fears that we have, or just the fact that we're not acknowledging, either the messages that either people are saying or that we're even receiving, just these intuitive inklings or knowings that you had, like the phone ringing, you knowing who to call. But then you just have that moment that it clicks, like that moment that clicks. And then you're like, there's no turning back. Like, this is it. And so I'm sure
Too, right?
you cut up. I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Experience, right?
Yes. I mean, for me, it was, again, my household, my mother was very, very intuitive, very spiritual. And so she has all these amazing healing gifts, and her mother before her mother before her. So me growing up, I knew I had these dreams and the visions. I had the angelic experiences, and I never thought anything of it. It's just mind boggling. It's like, I remember just waking up one day on my, I was just on the bed, and there's an angel there just sitting there and talking. And I didn't think anything of it. I just thought, oh, this is kind of what everyone goes through, or maybe I dreamt it, or it's not a big deal. And then I would just go about my life. But it's just, again, I guess it's for me, it was more because it was so common in the household. I didn't think it was anything other people weren't doing. But it was also more of a natural thing, almost like the way I could hear and see and speak. I could hear and see and speak to spirit. They would come mainly in my dreams, and then the numbers. There was lots of synchronicities with numbers. But then it just started getting more stronger and vivid. And then it wasn't until, I would say, in high school where that was when I started feeling different. I was like, okay, not everyone is going through this. Not everyone's seeing this. And I started feeling like that weird kid, where I just felt like that oddball, or I don't think I fit in. And then that's when my journey began. So it's just interesting how these journeys from so many people that I know, it actually comes from either an inner sadness or a loss, and then an awakening that brings so much joy and so much light and so much healing to people. So I relate with you in that aspect, that, there were moments where you don't know whether or not this is your path, or whether or not you can do this, and the ego, the thinking mind comes in. But then once you just embark on the journey and you realize, okay, this is real, like this isn't, that's when everything just clicks. And then, as you said, it's like a 180-degree shift. It's just amazing. And so part of this podcast and why I'm doing this is because there's so many people out there that are going through this reawakening or awakening state, where they know that there's something more than like the 9 to 5, or just waking up and doing the same mundane things. There's just a purpose. There's stuff happening. And so my hope is that having so many different people coming in and sharing their experiences and sharing their perspective can just take away the stigma of being fearful or afraid, or that can be real because I can't see it or feel it or touch it or taste it, but there's so much actually happening on the other side. And so with the Akashic Records specifically, I just think this is something that it's more of an awareness around it. I feel like everywhere I go now, people are speaking about the Akashic Records. Do you realize that or notice it? Do you notice like a shift with understanding Akashic Records, or more people into that?
I haven't noticed, no, but I've been doing this a long time, so it's been a pretty steady stream for me.
So it's almost like people find you, because that's how I feel with me. It's almost as if people are finding me, you know, they're finding the mediumship, the crystal work, the healing, the energy work. That's what I do. And it's just beautiful because I do believe it's an energy. It's as if, for me, and my perspective is that angels are bringing in the clients to me. And do you feel that way with you, with the Akashic records, that it's almost as if the universe is aligning you with those people that need healing in the form of the Akashic record?
I absolutely do. I think the more I do this, the more I appreciate the intelligent design of how it all works, and the synchronicity of the people that find me are the people that need what I have to give. There's, I mean, there's a few exceptions, but most everyone, we just kind of lock in. Like we have a match of energy, experiences. There's not been one person that's come to me that I haven't felt like I couldn't help or didn't know how to help them or hadn't experienced what they were going through on some level. And the synchronicity of it all too. They show me a lot of things out in the world, and I'll get a hit on something like a book or some kind of healing modality or food, something, just these things out in the world, and I'll apply them to my life. And sometimes I'm like, this isn't for me. And then like a week or a day or 2 weeks later, someone will come and they'll need that thing, and I'll say, oh, this was for them. Sometimes
it's amazing.
But and I used to think, am I just making this up? Like, this can't be, it can't be this easy. And then one day I just snapped awake, and I was like, of course it's this easy. Of course, like, it's meant to kind of be in a flow state, and we're all supposed to participate in it and get what we need and be supported and be loved and be seen. I think we interrupt that flow. We get in our heads. We try to control. We use fear. Our fear just, overtakes us, and we want to kind of create the illusion of control, and that's where everything gets messed up.
And no, it's the ego. And the funny thing is that the ego, or the thinking mind, is not bad. It's actually good. It's good to have that voice that's trying to protect you, but it's a difference also of quieting that voice so that we can actually listen to our higher self, our soul. Do you have any tips or tricks on how people can quiet that ego, quiet the mind, especially if they're going in for a reading with you, or just in general? Or is it something that you just think through prayer and meditation is how you do that?
I think it's unique to each individual. And there's, so many things. The first is, are you thinking or are you feeling? And if you're in a situation where you need to think, then use your intellect. It's great for logistical. It's great for strategy. If you're trying to look at big picture items, things that are going to ask you to risk, things that are going to ask you to be vulnerable, your head is always going to tell you no. So you can't trust it. You have to be connected to the wisdom of your body, because the body doesn't lie, and the wisdom of your soul. That is going to ask you to take risks. It is going to ask you to expand and bring up courage and do something that breaks you free of your conditioning. Mm-hmm. So are you thinking, are you feeling is a great one. And then, there's so many grounding techniques. I don't always recommend, the records don't always recommend meditation, because a lot of people are already channeling. So they've got that down, and more of that isn't necessarily what they need. A lot of people need grounding to kind of counterbalance that energy coming in and let it go through them and not pop their ego and intellect. So as much as, I'm sure we're all well versed on what we can do in spiritual hygiene, energetic hygiene, but it is, you have to kind of try a lot of different things before you find the thing that is right for you. And then I always say, be with acceptance and curiosity, because the thing that is working really great could stop working. You might need to level up and do something else and go to a deeper level in terms of your connection to source, to spirit. So there's a million things someone can do, but I would want them to try and keep trying what works for them.
Yeah, I mean, of course. And would you say that accessing, quieting the mind and accessing the higher self, that's related to, let's say, the solar plexus, that's related to your chakras? Would you say that if your chakras were unbalanced or blocked, that you would have a harder time just quieting the ego? How is that related to, let's say, the chakras with the ego and also accessing information for our greatest good?
Um, it could be more difficult. It depends to the degree that they're unaligned or where you're blocked. I don't think that it feels like if you know if something's blocked in you, then something's broken, and then you're not going to be able to connect. I don't think that's true. Um, I think you could have an easier time connecting and even surrendering. I think that any blocks that exist are just information. It's not like a punishment. It's not that you're doing something wrong. It's trying to speak to you. It's trying to get your attention so that you can pay attention to where you're holding information, where you're holding trauma, where you're holding grief, so that you can liberate that energy and feel more aligned. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, no, it does perfectly. So it's just interesting because a lot of people, at least when people come to me for readings, there is a sense of either sadness or sometimes they need confirmation. They just want confirmation. They want to know that things are going to be better, get well, or that there is that person that's with them, or that they just need to unblock. They feel stuck. They actually say, I feel blocked. I feel for every step forward, I'm moving 2 or 3 steps back. So with that, when you have clients come to you regarding the Akashic records, do you believe that the messages in itself is enough, or do you believe it's more of an energetic feeling that comes in with the reading?
I don't know that I understand the question. Sorry.
So let's say if someone comes in for a reading with you and they feel blocked and they feel that for every step forward, it's almost as if something is blocking them and stopping them. When they come in for an Akashic reading, do you believe that it's the messages that help them unblock themselves, or is it just the feeling of them understanding and knowing that they aren't alone? What is the purpose of the Akashic records in terms of having people feel that they're going to receive the information they need to feel that they can go on, that there is hope for them?
I do believe that when you are in the energy of your records, you are connecting to source and spirit, and that has its own upliftment. So that has its own healing energy. It's not a healing, an energetic healing session. Um, it's it's not solely that. So it doesn't go as deep as that. But do they get elevated? Absolutely. Will it unblock? Perhaps. It depends, like, the grip that they have on that block. It depends the work that they block. Sometimes it's just the cascade effect and they need just a little bit of something and it all comes unraveling. I've had every experience where, it doesn't unblock because there's too much fear there and they need more time with it and they're not ready, to someone that's incredibly ready and just needs that little something, like a whisper of something, and it all comes, it all comes cascading down. So I would love to give you like one answer, but everyone is so unique, right? And what everyone needs is so unique. So if someone really needs an energetic healing, I feel like I can say that the records meet someone where they are. And oftentimes when information will come through and I'll share that information with the client, and they will say, well, that was everything on my list, or that's exactly what I needed to know today.
Confirmation that they needed to kind of feel better and move on and work
Right.
towards that. That's great. And where does breath work come in with this? Because I also know that you work with breath work. So is that something that you do as a grounding technique for your clients, or is that something that they can use on their own? How would you describe breath work, and how does that relate to the Akashic records?
Right. So I offer Akashic breathwork where I open a client's Akashic records and then guide them through a breathwork session, which is specifically an energetic healing session. Energetic trauma stored in our bodies doesn't respond to thought. We can't think it away. It responds to breath, it responds to touch, and it responds to play. So breathwork is an incredibly effective way at moving out old energetic trauma, which is grief and fear and pain and betrayal. I mean, it's kind of an umbrella for just anything that's unresolved, anything that's holding us back. Um, and the Akashic records inform me as to how to manage the session, where to go, what to say. Having their records open is just another level of um, healing and my ability to kind of offer change to them, offer um, a shift for them.
And is the breath work something that you do just you can just describe what it is? Is it something that you just tell them breathe in through your nose, breathe in through the mouth, or is it something that's more involved?
So it's an hour-long session. It's an active form of meditation. And it's a three-part session where the first is kind of a meditative grounding, the middle is the active breath work, and then the third part is the integration. Um, and it's a bit of a roller coaster. It goes really, really deep. It can really, within a session, people have a full transformation, depending how willing they are. They often have like so many times they're on the bed and they think that my massage table has a vibration technique because their whole body is just shaking, which it doesn't. They often have visuals or visions. It depends, again, depends on the individual, but breathwork is incredibly effective at kind of liberating you from that lower vibrational energy.
So
From
it's basically doing breath work is another form of clearing energy from the body.
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Hygiene or spiritual hygiene.
And is it something that, along with breath work at the ends of sessions, at the ends of your sessions, is there kind of homework that you give your clients in terms of the energetic hygiene, what to do, how can they stay in that high vibrational state for longer?
Yeah, very often for the beginning of my practice, I always doing these readings, so much information would come through and they kind of tell the person where they are, illuminate like what their issues are, where they're holding back or where they need to move forward. And I really, to me, I wanted takeaways. I wanted to offer information, like you say, homework to someone. It's one thing to get the information. It's another to have actionable information so that they could, you know, make change in their life. And so I always ask in the records, you know, what they need to move forward in order to best support them. So yeah, there are often takeaways, not for everybody, but for the majority of people, there are takeaways.
And along with the breath work, is it's almost as if they're also going through a meditative experience where they're receiving messages themselves, or is it something that you're providing the messages to them, or is it both?
Within a breathwork session, yes, they often get messages, but again, depends on the individual. I can't guarantee that. I get messages, sure, but it's not like a reading. I'm really focused on the energetic body. So often information comes through in terms of like where they're holding and why, but it's a very different session than a reading is. It's not like a question and answer thing. I just get different hits of where they're holding, oftentimes why, how to release it. I'll have them move in a certain way. I'll have them say different things. I'll, you know, use touch in order to kind of facilitate an expression of holding energy. So yes. all different.
Yeah, that's great. And when you're receiving information, let's say even though you're doing the breath work, are you actually feeling this? Are you feeling the energetic pools or the tight spots? Are you feeling it, or is it something that you just through claircognizance or clairvoyance you see it that way or feel it that way?
It depends on the person. It depends on the session. Oftentimes I feel things in my body, even before a reading. Like in the morning, I might have a ton of anxiety that I know is not mine, or a stomach ache or a headache. And I'll get into a session or open the records. And then there's some kind of, I can't explain it other than it's a match. Like I'll feel that same feeling coming back at me. And I think, oh, that's
That's
there.
where it came from. Yeah.
Yeah. But within a reading, I see things. I can close my eyes and see things like a movie and back it up and rewind it. I hear things audibly, again, like feel it in my body. And then there's a knowing as well. I can also, there's nothing I can't ask. In all the years I've been doing this, there's nothing I have asked where they haven't answered. Sometimes they'll tell me things and I need them to clarify, or I don't understand. And so I'll ask them to show me in a different way. But it always kind of really wraps up nicely, where they might bring information in the beginning, and it does take interpretation. You have to understand that there's not a language for this. It's energy. So I work with the clients, so we're both interpreting the energy of things and putting language to it. But there is this really beautiful kind of like wrapping up, like something they bring forward in the beginning that doesn't quite make sense. There's always this turnabout where at the end it does kind of come together.
Yeah.
That. So it's really, I love what I do, but it is this shared experience where we get to kind of go almost like treasure hunting, to discover different things within a session.
That's amazing. That's just so great. And now, is there a form of, let's say, protection, or is there like prayer that happens before sessions, whether it's breath work or Akashic readings, that you do in order to open up? Is there a specific thing you say? Is there a specific prayer to actually help guide the session?
Yeah, I access the records through a pathway prayer, and then I close the records with a prayer as well. I also have my own, so I use that, but then I have my own little kind of ceremony that I do right before I open the records. I go through my, what would it be called? My protocol. And mine has changed over the years too. They're very specific in terms of how they guide me to do what I do. And I just listen. And then I also balance people's energy. And that whole meditation that I take them through was downloaded. I mean, I think it's great, but I can't take credit for it because it was very much
information you receive, right?
And when it was funny because it took, a few weeks to get it right, because if I did it out of if I didn't do it sequentially, I would get this hit like, boop, you didn't do it right. And I have to constantly kind of reshape it and reconfigure it. And then I finally got it right.
And that's amazing. So in the beginning, when you open up the records, has there ever been a time where you forgot to close the records? Let's say you opened up your own records and then you forgot to close. What happens then? What happens when you forget to close the record?
They'll remind me. They'll remind me.
So is it something that when you close the records, that just means you're no longer receiving information? Is that how it works?
Not always, because sometimes I'll get information even after the records are closed, and I just say thank you if they need to hear that. I ask for it to be given to me 3 times, and then I very rarely, but there has been instances where I've reached out after a session because they just don't let up, and I know that I need to. But I just thank them and tell them that session's over. And if that person needs to hear it, they can, come back. Or I have to kind of have safe, healthy boundaries otherwise.
Yes. And it's so funny because that's very similar to me and my work with the mediumship. So there are times that spirit will come through and they're just talking and there's just this dialogue going on. But sometimes they continue even after the session, they'll continue to provide information, or this one funny story where an animal came through, and this was a beautiful animal for this client, but the animal wouldn't leave me alone because I forgot to kind of do my cord cutting that I always do at the end of every session. And so the animal was just this super cute thing providing information, but I'm like, okay, you have to go now. Thank you. Have a nice day. So it's funny because I do believe that there's so much similarities between the mediumship, psychic information coming through, but also with the Akashic records. So it's just more of, I wonder if there is a kind of a similarity there, or if it's just something that you don't have to be a medium or psychic in order to do the Akashic records. Because there are times where I do readings and I'm able to see people's past lives. So so my question to you is, do you think that's a form of Akashic record? The fact that I'm able to see their past or even see their future, or is that something completely different?
No, I don't. I think so. From what I've been taught and what I've seen is when you're opening someone's Akashic records, you're speaking directly to their masters, teachers, and loved ones, right? So you're in their channel speaking to them, their guides. When you're getting a psychic reading or mediumship, you're utilizing the practitioners, guides, angels, whoever they're connecting to bring that information.
Got it. So it's basically like you're going to different sources.
Say that again.
You're going to different sources.
Well, the way I see it is if you're speaking directly to, you're in the client channel, then that information, it's one less removed, right? If you're working with a practitioner and you're using their guides, there's an interpreter there. There's an interpretation there. So it's not, I think it's not, I think the access point matters because there's so much more available to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you're saying it's more of a direct contact when you're going through the Akashic records. So it's because it's that person's masters, guides, and loved ones versus doing, let's say, mediumship or psychic, where you're actually speaking to an angel or a guide and they're giving you the information that needs to come. Is that what you're saying?
Well, that you're working through that practitioner's abilities. So there's some practitioners that have a really strong ability to look at past lives. So that's what you're going to use them for, or utilize their gifts as. When you're in the Akashic records, all of that is available. You're not having to pick and choose, I would say. You can look at past lives, you can look at predictive measures, you can speak to loved ones. So there's more information available. And when you're connecting to your source and spirit, that taps in and feeds you in a very different way. I don't think you're getting the same kind of like vitamin drip because you can't connect to someone else's guides, right? That's their channel, that's their connection. And you can be privy to it, you can ascertain information from it, but you're not in that channel receiving that energy yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it does make sense. It's just interesting. It's an interesting perspective because, I never thought of having the Akashic records. It's coming in as a direct, basically how I look at it, because I've had visions and dreams, and I believe I've been in my room of Akashic records where I see this room and there's just file cabinets everywhere and there's just documents and papers, and every time I'm in there it's just light. I feel like there's light in there and there's lots of wisdom, and I see books and I see papers, I see passages, almost as if things have been written in the past and things that can come forward in the future. So for me, it's just interesting to hear, how you're describing it as how the information is coming in. When I speak to my guides and helpers or the ancestors of my clients, the information is just pure energy. It's almost as if there's an energy that wraps around me, but it seems as if that's very similar to the Akashic records and how you feel and the client feels. It's just an energy that engulfs us. So I think there's a lot of similarities there, even though the information might be almost like a cousin once removed, sort of, so to speak. Does that make sense?
It's all energy, right? It's just
Yeah.
the source may be different.
And so going back to, again, because I know we're almost reaching the 4 o'clock time frame, is it something that someone, if they wanted to have a session, that it's because they just need guidance and wisdom and it's a one-time thing, or is it something that they can frequently come back to? Is it something that they can just find out what's going to happen in their future, or the pattern to happen in their future that they can change? Or is it something that's more guiding them in their initial session with what the past is and where they are in the present? Or is it like all three?
So you can open your records as many times as you want. There's no limit to that. I people on weekly basis, bi-monthly, monthly, yearly, quarterly. And I can't predict what it's going to do for each and every individual. It's unique. It's really what they need. Even though they might think they need this, they might get this because something higher in terms of their oversoul is really kind of gently loving them and supporting them in a way that they actually need. So yes, we can look at past lives. If the past life is really impeding on this life, it will come up on its own. It'll show up while I'm opening the records. Often people ask about past lives and people, and that is very easy to access and kind of illuminate, give them information about different people in their lives, the lessons that they're meant to learn through them, with them, and then, what to do moving forward. And then the predictive stuff, again, it's there, it's available, but depending on the circumstances, it's for the most part going to be 50-50 because of our free will and then the free will of the people that are involved. But if it's part of their life purpose or life path, and you can see it kind of already locked in, then that's available too. And I always mention that if it's part of their life path, and it's a lesson that they're meant to learn, they're going to learn that lesson. They could be in the middle of learning it and decide, like, I don't want to learn it right now, and shut it all down. But that lesson will come back later with like a different cast of characters. So lessons are easy to identify, and that can kind of fall into a predictive outlook.
So it'll be easier for them to sort of see the pattern and then hopefully change the pattern if that's not what they want for their future.
No, you don't. Well, it depends. Is a pattern part of a life force? Sorry, I'm getting text. Is a pattern part of their life lesson? You can't change the lessons you came in to learn. Those are fixed. We have free will, so we can change a lot of the aspects and components of it, but you're not going to change a lesson.
Yeah, that's great. And so their lesson, basically it's almost what advice would you give them regarding the lesson? You have to go through that lesson, right?
I don't know that I would say it that way. How do we move through this with ease and grace and love and acceptance, and right? It's not a punishment. Nothing is a punishment. And I think sometimes just reminding us of that you are built for this, you chose this, you signed up for this, you can do this. If you want to take a step back and breathe and like do it in a week or a day or a year, that's you. And I completely understand that. But we're here to kind of break ourselves open and
learn on Earth School. This is what we're all about. This is Earth School. And I do agree that we signed up for this. So every one of us has our own light. We have our own energy, and we are here for a purpose. So thank you for that. And Krista, is there anything else that you want, before we wrap up, that you would like to speak of in terms of the Akashic Records or breath work, or its importance and significance, or its benefits? Anything you want to add?
It's a beautiful, beautiful practice. It's very loving. It's very incredibly intelligent and informative. So if you are seeking, if you are down on one knee. If you feel lost or alone, this is like all energetic practices. It's a beautiful way to re-spirit yourself, to connect to source and spirit. Breath work is a really powerful way to practice energetic hygiene, spiritual hygiene. And then I also teach people how to open their Akashic records. And that takes it to another level. To just have the ability to have that channel open and available to you is a wonderful gift that we can all partake in. So
Yay. Well, I just want to thank you so much, Krista, for your time today. And I want to thank every one of you guys who joins in. If you guys have any comments, or feel free to DM me or even Krista. You can find her at akashicglow.com, and you can find me at earthangelcrystal.com. So excited that we were able to share Krista's perspective and experience on this beautiful topic. And thank you all for joining. Thank you, Krista.
bye, sweetheart. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.